What is up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York. We are back at Warsaw Concerts in Brooklyn, and today we are here with Mariusz of Riverside. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. First thing is always first. Your latest record is Wasteland, which came out in 2018. How was the making of the record?
It was tough.
Really?
Yeah, because maybe some of you don't know that, but we lost our guitar player, and that was the first album that we recorded as a trio. And I was in charge, if we're talking about many instruments, but actually it was just like the third album in a row for me. So the recordings were pretty exciting. And but it was tough, the whole subject and everything, the story behind it. But I think we managed that, and the tour is a proof that people like the album, and we have a great, fantastic response.
Yeah. You just led me into my next question because, I give you guys a lot of credit for being able to carry on after the loss you have suffered. I'm curious, if you don't mind me asking, did becoming a trio after this alter the sound of Riverside at all, or influence the concept behind Wasteland?
Of course. I had the idea for the story, and I realized that we can make it as a trio, because this album is supposed to be a bit like not in 100%, if you know what I mean. So just like for some people, our trio became like incomplete band, but we had to deal with this subject as a trio. I mean, the heroes of the album should be the people who left. And that's supposed to be like this. But I'm not saying that we are officially as a trio till the end of our days, because maybe with the new album we will become a quartet again. But Wasteland should be recorded as a trio.
So clearly, even like with the making of Wasteland, this wasn't just a direct follow-up to Love, Fear, and the Time Machine. This was a completely new era of Riverside.
Well, I always try to, do something new, and I don't want to repeat myself. I'm not sure if we have two the same albums, if you know what I mean. So, but I think that's just the Wasteland is just like the bridge between this new Riverside era with the Shrine of New Generation Slaves and the Love, Fear, and the Time Machine, based more on the songwriting, and between the bridge between this era and the previous four albums from the last decade, when we had the sound more like the prog alternative band or something like that. So I feel that this is just like the transition album in sort of way, and the beginning of the new chapter, that's for sure.
Yeah. Do you think experimenting in your songwriting process will further open doors for you to experiment even further? I feel like every album in your catalog stands out, but it's fair to say you like to take a new approach to every album, right?
Yeah, I adore to experiment, but I also think I found my own shell, because I don't want to experiment, in every direction. I found myself somewhere between heavy stuff, between melodic, even pop stuff, something folkish, and something electronic. So sometimes I'm just pushing all these boundaries in a different directions. But definitely the new album will be like another chapter and another pushing somewhere else, But I'm not going to change the style. I think I found something, and I just want to develop that.
Now, you mentioned like the concepts behind Wasteland. You clearly, I think you put just as much thought into your subject matter and concept as you do with your music. Do you need to sometimes hear music to come up with a concept for the album, or does the concept always come first and that determines the composition as well?
I think so, yeah. I always start from the blank page. Then comes the color of the cover, I don't know why. The title, the story behind that, and that's the beginning of the working process connected with the music. Sometimes I've got the musical ideas and try to fit them, but that's just the exception. And the story is the most important for me always. I'm not that kind of person who just doing everything and later I'm just doing the best of and I'm working, okay, now maybe I will title this that way, pick this song, and this song, and I will create the album. No, I'm trying to have it here and later I'm just filling the gaps.
Interesting. Do you like to leave your story open to interpretation, or do you try to maybe pass on this message and the subject matter to your listeners and try to get them to see things from your point of view?
There's something in general, like, I don't know, this is about clouds. But people who knows Riverside, they know that it's not about clouds. It's about, I don't know, clouds in your head, because it's always connected with the psychology and this point of view of the person who is just, I don't know, somewhere close within. And yeah, writing lyrics about life, about something that matters, always have to be connected with your own interpretation. So I always try to write it that way.
It's fair to say that you're very metaphorical behind your subject matter, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, I definitely hear it when listening to Wasteland. Now, one thing I'm always curious about with your style of music, it's very technically impressive. When you are performing live, are you trying to execute the material as close to how people would hear it on the album, or do you like to bring something a little bit new and throw in some tricks in the live presence?
Yeah. We always try to experiment, but not so much. I mean, the background is just like on the album, but some things at the beginning, some things at the end, maybe something in the middle. It's always quite different because we adore to play during live shows, and do some variations of our songs. Sometimes we love to mix them up somehow, cut them up, and stuff like that. And but it's basically, you can recognize what kind of song is that.
Yeah, definitely. I think you have the best of both worlds. They know that you're playing this particular song,
Yeah,
but you don't have to.
that, we're not that kind of band like just okay. We did. If we play acoustic versions, sometimes it's maybe hard to catch it from the very beginning, but we're trying to do something that at least reminds the song.
Definitely. Now, one thing I was curious about is kind of going back to the meaning of your subject matter. You have very dedicated fans, and and being that people can take it into their own interpretation, could somebody else's interpretation, even if it's nothing what you were thinking of when making this story, could somebody else's perception on your music maybe change a little bit of your perspective on your own art? Or do you like to stick to how it was when you first made it?
I think it's always important, and it's always just like playing live shows. When you're on the stage and you see that people react very enthusiastically, so you are really into the show too. You just give them back in sort of way, and that kind of shows are always great. And when I see some reactions about I don't know, the songs that I didn't expect they will be so interesting for people, I start to realize that maybe that's the thing that I should improve a bit in the future. But I always try to stick to my first vision, of course. But I'm also very open for someone else's opinions. Okay, for instance, I'm a leader of the band, right? But this is not like I have to do everything what I believe it's the best. Because if someone from the band says, I don't like this part, then I say, okay, for me, that's the signal that it's not good enough. Not like I have to force it, No, it should be like, I want it. No. And that's why I'm really open for someone else's suggestions. But the core, it's what it is. So I don't want to change that, I don't want to be like a flag on the wind, It's just like, what is in fashion right now? Maybe I will start to play that kind of music. No. I found something which is my own, and I want to develop that. Being open for some new interpretations.
Of course. It seems like you have the best of both worlds. You know who you are, you know what you want to do, but you are also open to outside input as well.
Exactly, but the amounts of that should be reasonable. So I always try to be open, but sometimes, I don't want to lose my own identity, if you know what I mean.
Does your story come from an internal source? Are you looking within for this, or are you looking at the world around you?
It's always from this. I mean, um, first, because I think that I always try to do my stories with many layers. First layer is connected with the human being, with the thing that I feel. And the second layer is the story about the band. Sometimes, like Second Life Syndrome was the story about second album syndrome, right? Or ADHD was also connected with the fact that we've been in a hurry all the time, as a band even. Or Shrine of New Generation Slaves, I started to feel like a slave with my, you know, things connected with music. So I wanted to change the style of the band too. And the third layer is the worldwide situation and everything. So I always try to put all these elements in the story. For instance, Wasteland. This is the story about someone who lost someone else and tried to deal with that. It's the story about the band, so trio, and the things that's going on right now. It's also something connected. In Poland, for instance, we have our country looks like wasteland right now because we are fighting with each other very much. We are very divided, and I do hope that it will change. But it's sort of you can find some connections in the lyrics too.
Beautiful. I feel like it's amazing when you could create a story that comes from here, but it results in an experience that you share with people, and then they could either know exactly what you're talking about, or they could at the same time make it their own and relate to it in their way.
I grew up on that condense, man. It's just like several layers of everything. So, no.
And I have two more questions for you. Being a band from Poland, I mean, there's so many great bands from Poland at the moment, such as Decapitated and Behemoth, just to name two. But was there a scene in Poland? I forgot where exactly in Poland you're from, but was there?
Warsaw.
Oh, from Warsaw. How appropriate that you were at
Warsaw. We play at Warsaw right now. So.
Yeah, and how appropriate that you're at the Warsaw concerts. But what is there a metal scene in the city of Warsaw, or did you have to go outside of your hometown of Poland to get?
You said metal scene. Metal scene from Poland is always really strong, for many, many years. But rock scene, I mean, there's everything and nothing, right? In Poland, it's really popular right now, something which is called alternative pop. And it's just like a mainstream of something. But speaking of rock itself, I don't know, maybe we are the only band, maybe there's a few of us playing somewhere abroad, but it's not so great. But metal scene, it's really great. We've got the new generation of metal, like Mgła, for instance. So they're just keeping very well.
Awesome. And the final question I'd like to ask for you, and as I get the most dead, they don't know answer for this, but after talking to you, I think you have a good explanation for it, because in Wasteland, going back to the songwriting, the intro track is 1.5 minutes, but I think your longest song on the album is almost 10 minutes long. So how do you know when a song is finished?
Oh, that's something that I can explain, to be honest. This is something that I feel. I remember there was a time when we played the show in Finland, and Grudin, our guitar player, that passed away, unfortunately, came up with this idea, and I knew already that it should be the end of the very long song. So I knew that and I remember that I composed the first 8 minutes. I was waiting for this final part to make it, and I knew that with this part there will be the end of the song. And sometimes when I start to play, I know that I need to have more like 8 minutes or 9 minutes. If it comes to long songs, I mean long compositions, right? It's just like you are in the theater and you're watching the movie, and sometimes you feel that this scene should last more. I don't know. I just feel that. Maybe in a good way, maybe in a bad way, but I'm happy for the result. So as my friends from the band. So far it works.
So before we go, I'd like to thank you so much for your time. It's going to be a great show tonight. Is there just anything else with Riverside that you would like to promote after this tour? This interview is going to be uploaded later tonight, so if there's a tour booked for like 2022 or something like that,
I do hope that we will come back soon, sooner than later, because there are always problems. There've been always problems with us. Like we are touring every 4 years or something in the United States. We should, the market changed. We should play more often. So we promise that as soon as the new album will come out, we definitely come back to New York.
hey, sometimes not coming here often actually helps. I mean, Hatebreed played their first New York City show in like almost 10 years, and it's sold out instantly.
This is what I thought about it too, but these days I believe that people want to be in touch with the band. This is the only thing that's left, with all this streaming, Spotify and stuff. They can have the band. I'm not talking about just playing the shows every 3 months.
Yeah.
But every year, it's not as bad if you are a fan.
Yeah.
That's totally fine,
Exactly.
But for us, let's say every 2 years should be quite okay, but not 5 or 6. We've been touring this March in Europe, and we visited a few places that we didn't visit for like, I don't know, 6 years, and we felt that it was too long, So we want to change that. With Riverside, with Wasteland, we feel that we have a second chance, and I do hope that in the United States we will be also quite often. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Everybody, Riverside, Wasteland, pick it up if you haven't already. This is Alex from here in New York, and we'll see you next time.